Good morning, everybody, and good morning to Frank Kovacs. Frank Kovacs is our meeting's co-founder, our group's co-founder and current president. And good morning, Frank. Uh,
Good morning.
Let's get started.
Good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast Club, everybody. For those who have been longtime members or those that are new, the Breakfast Club has been put together following the 9/11 tragedy. I was actually in the towers the day before for a meeting for a board of directors that I was on, and I had checked in exactly at the time that the first plane hit the next day. So still have my pass from that day. The next day, myself and Joseph Sullivan, who was a fellow board member, who was the former Inspector General at the FBI, we had competing priorities. So we weren't going to attend the second day of the board meeting. And unfortunately, from what occurred the next day, we were the only two that from the board that survived. So following tragedy, a lot of companies went to claw back jobs. There was a lot of uncertainty, not only around job security, but around physical security, financial security. And with that, a lot of the people that lost their jobs really had no place to turn. So that's why we started the Breakfast Club, was to help those individuals that wound up without jobs at a very trying time in the history of this country. And, over the years, we've had to keep it going because of strategic sourcing, downsizing, financial and economic issues in the country, most recently the pandemic. So we could have never anticipated, all of those additional things that have come up, but really reinforced the need for a group like this focused on job search and career management. Most recently, the biggest changes have been driven by digital transformation. There's a significant amount of additional changes going on. Most recently, one of the biggest ones was around ChatGPT and the automation capabilities that brings to the workplace. But things like spatial web, metaverse, Web 3.0, all of these things converging are really the next generation and the next level of, so-called digital transformation along with the fourth industrial revolution. So all of this, what it really means is different ways of doing work, different ways of uh, providing interfaces, clients, and to fellow businesses and B2B and B2C. And now customer experience is going to evolve significantly over the next, few years, which is also going to change the way we operate. You've seen what's come out with Apple recently and their announcement with spatial computing. There's the spatial web. I highly recommend, if you have the chance, to look into these recent advancements, because it basically is a whole new way of interfacing with computing. When we started this group, computing was kind of its own silo versus HR, marketing, finance, and all the other disciplines. But now, technology is pervasive in almost every job occupation there is out there. So there's no avoiding the technology aspects of it. So it's better, even in our personal lives, that we have some level of understanding and familiarity, because, with that, we have other outgrowths of things like ransomware and identity theft and everything else. So it's very critical that you have at minimum, a foundational knowledge of these different technologies and where they're evolving to and how they can potentially impact you. Okay, I'll turn it over to Jerry now to start our program for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning, everyone. I have a great presentation for you today. Let me introduce today's speaker. Ken Lang is the co-founder of My Networking Central, a searchable database for networking events and speakers. He facilitates an online weekly LinkedIn Live on Tuesday afternoons with guests where LinkedIn best practices are discussed. Ken also serves as a brand specialist for Lee Heck Harrison and Outplacement Service. I'd now like to introduce Ken.
Well, thank you guys very much. What I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to start the show only from the standpoint that this way you can actually see what I look like. This is a starting point. So this is what I would look like if you could see my screen. I was in the towers also about 6 months before this horrible 9/11 tragedy. And I think about that a lot. So Frank, I want to send you my support, as well as everyone else who was there. I think you do an amazing job with this group. And so without this group, a lot of people would actually be not have a place to go. So thank you very much for spending your Saturday morning with me. Part of this presentation is going to be going through slides and the like, but I really want to make sure that we also go to do some training on LinkedIn, because a lot of what I'm talking about is a lot more visual than anything else. And speaking of visual, I was at LinkedIn. I was at the LinkedIn, we call it the LinkedIn mothership, actually, kind of half jokingly. I was there twice in the last few months. I was there invited by LinkedIn for a collaborative event. And more recently, a bunch of us got together as trainers and coaches. And that's really what all this in-person networking is all about. I think it's such a great thing to be able to see people, be able to know exactly what you're all about. So I'm going to be talking today about LinkedIn best practices. By now, most people know how to use LinkedIn in the basic form. If you're not sure, there's a lot of information online. But what I want to make sure that people have a frame of reference about is exactly what LinkedIn can do for them. So I'm going to go through this presentation, and Dave, if you can monitor the chat, that would be great. I have a slide that I added just for questions, because some of the questions I hope to be able to answer when we actually get out to the event, to LinkedIn itself. So here we go. Okay. Okay, don't we love technical difficulties? Okay, I am trying, guys. All right, meantime, while I'm going, what?
We still see you. We still see your second slide.
Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Got it frozen. Unfroze. Still waking up this morning. This is the only slide I'm actually going to be handling in terms of how we talk about LinkedIn from a basic perspective, because I think it is important to have that understanding. You want to have a background image for sure. You want to be able to have something, a headline which defines you, the about section, description. One thing that has changed is the need to engage, and we're going to talk about that. And engaging means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think one of the things most people are afraid of is even getting started here. So I think it's so important to understand that when you engage with someone on this platform, it's in all different ways. So here's some of the questions I get all the time on LinkedIn. And I'm going to try to kind of circumvent what I think some people always want to know about. Basic or premium, does having one affect the search results? Should I have open to work on? Why isn't anyone finding me? Why should I post when no one engages? And how do I get started here? And I'm going to answer these questions on the next slide, I think. But these are questions I probably get more than anything else. So it does not make any difference whether you have basic or premium from a search standpoint. It will definitely affect you have certain functionality you can use, but again, searching, that's a myth. Basic or premium does not make a difference. I go back and forth with open to work. I believe you should keep it on for everyone, but it's only a very small part of what you are hoping to do, but there's no harm in it. I mean, I have open to work on for recruiters, because I'm always looking for opportunities.
Okay, folks, make sure your microphones are on mute. I will check for that one right now.
Why isn't anyone finding me? Well, all it takes is one. It's a quality versus quantity discussion. One of the biggest complaints we get on LinkedIn amongst all of us is that I'm doing a post and I'm not getting any impressions, I'm not getting any comments. Well, all it takes is one person. It's not a numbers game that way, which goes along with why should I post when no one engages? Then again, why not? I'm currently working at Lee Act Harrison as a brand specialist, which is a nice way of saying I teach people how to use LinkedIn and write resumes. And one of my assignments, if you will, is I have people from there actually post an article or post a comment or post something just to see how it works. Most people don't realize the power of what they do on here. And posting can be about pretty much anything within reason. You know, that's the other question people ask me all the time is, what do I post about? Some people are much more personal than others. It's really what you are comfortable with, as long as it's not political or anything. But the key is just to actually start doing it. I think it's so important to understand that when you get started, it'll be better. Now, the picture and image, and I have to thank a couple of people for reminding me this. Got to make sure you're smiling in the picture. If you're not smiling in the picture, no one's going to want to work with you. You also want to make sure the picture is centered within the image, that circle. Having a background image to market yourself on something like Canva is very, very helpful. There's so many great tools out there. And using the pronunciation feature, what I hope to do, and that's when you actually can do a video recording. Now, an audio recording. They took away the video recordings. You can't upload a video 30-second image anymore, but if you have it there, it's still there. There are hopes that they do bring it back, but again, we're not really sure. Again, we don't know what goes behind the LinkedIn thing sometimes. So as an example, your headline is more than your job. This is mine. I have lots of different things in there. It's searchable. It's fun. I change it up all the time. And the image back there is also something I created on Canva. It's just part of my brand. You know, I think I first heard from Alex Freund about the whole idea of having a brand. Well, my brand is I'm a LinkedIn introvert. That's my brand. I think a lot of you guys wonder how the heck I can call myself that. Well, I still freak out every time I do a presentation. I still get all nervous when I have to meet people. Once I get going, I'm fine. I've had the pleasure, if you will, of working with a lot of extroverts who keep me honest, and I keep them honest. I think that's a big part of it. As a reminder for the headline, besides not defaulting to your recent job, people ask me, what should I include in the headline? Well, if you're really not sure what to do a search for jobs you're interested in, check out skills associated with them, and add some of those skills to your headline, or think about it from that perspective. I mean, that's the first comment I'm going to make about searching today. LinkedIn is a search engine. Think about it as a Google for job search. You can search for anything and everything on this platform. You just have to know how. Whether you're searching for, most of the time we talk about searching for people, but there's all different other ways to search. Very important consideration. It's an underutilized tool. So with Open to Work, and this is an example, you can set up job titles. These are all job titles here. You can set those up. You can set up location types and locations. When you do that, you can add as many or as few as you want within 5. And this is all done so you're searched. So when people do searches, they know how to find you. Very important to have this. The caveat I will make again and again and again is it's great to have it. It doesn't hurt, but it's not going to be enough. I think the biggest challenge people have is separating their LinkedIn profile from what the resume looks like. So again, it's something else to consider. You can also by doing that, you can include skills, and this is a recent rollout. Everyone knows about their about section. You want to have the first 3 lines or so available. You can add top skills underneath the about section. By doing that, that will show up the top skills that you select. And I will show you how to do that in a second. Now, if you look at the about here, again, this is a tag. Jump in the LinkedIn water is fine. I'm an introvert who's always learning how to best use this platform. That's a tag. My about section is lots and lots of characters, lots and lots of stuff, which is all searchable, but no one is going to really care about that unless they select see more or unless they find a reason to engage. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. It's not your resume. It's not the first 3 or 4 lines of your resume. Requires a little bit of thinking to do that. So when you have your about section here, this is the editing aspect of it. There's that pencil thing. This is where you add skills. So every one of your sections has a pencil next to it. So if you go to your about section, there's a pencil. That's where you can edit the text, and that's where you can add skills. It's all meant for searchability. The more times you have something searchable there, the better you have in terms of being found. Now, these are where the skills are in your and this is a cool one here, something which I like to show. You can make up a skill. I made up this skill, LinkedIn Rockstar and Top Voice. You are not locked into the skills that it gives you. Now, it may not be searchable from a job search perspective, but it's definitely a cool thing to do. And people do that all the time.
Ken,
Yes.
if I could just weigh in at one thing on skills that I've seen a lot of recently.
Sure.
People have skills on their profile that somewhat date their experience.
Yes.
And I think they're very reluctant to remove them because they achieved, 99 plus endorsements on it.
Right.
But it's really critical that the skills are reflective of the jobs that you're trying to show yourself as having that competency for, rather than having outdated skills which could negate your ability to be seen as the right fit.
I agree, and I think one of the things I've found out recently is most people don't know how to move their skills around. So they may have a skill in the 10th or 11th bucket, and they don't know how to move it up to the top. So that's one of the slides here, is to show you how to do that, because if the skill is all the way in the bottom, it's not a problem. But you don't want, like if you have Microsoft Office at the top, that's kind of a waste. If you have other skills like that, because that's not going to set you apart. And sometimes if you go to a job itself, and the job will list what the skills are that are required in the requirements, that should give you a hint as to what to include. I mean, that's where the searching also comes in. If you do a search for jobs and it's looking for certain skills, make sure they're on your profile, for sure. So again, like I said, this is something which I like to do for myself. I find it's very cool to do something like that. Now, what you can do also is, and this is important, each of your skills here, you can assign to your specific job. So if you notice here, there's a pencil next to the skills at the top. And you see that in every section of this thing here. So, and there's also a pencil here next to each job. So every job you have a pencil where you can edit it. And that's where you can edit the name, you can edit the information, and this is where you can put skills within each job. So if you have 10 skills that you want to add to one job, you can add 10 skills within each job. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it's something which makes a lot of sense. So the way you go back is you go to your skills and you have a pencil, like on the other slide. Then you see a pencil next to each skill underneath it. So you have the pencil at the top and then the pencil here. And then you edit the skill and it says, where do you want to put that skill to use? And it will then default to all of your jobs. You can put this skill in any or as few of the jobs that you want. And then when you save it, it will then show up there. So, question about takes. So when you do something like that, then it shows up here. Now, someone just asked a question about the skills tests. You can take skills tests, and there's all sorts of skills tests available. And when you pass a skills test on LinkedIn, it will give you a notification or a badge. That's great from a profile standpoint. I will tell you this, I have probably taken a lot of the basic skills tests, and they can trip you up a little bit. Take a skill. I would recommend doing a skill in something you're interested in, something you may want to be certified in. It definitely doesn't hurt, and it's definitely something you should consider actually putting in your about section as something that you've done. Again, this is all from the standpoint of being searchable, and you can have multiple jobs. Now, again, if you look here, I don't care, LinkedIn Rockstar and Top Voice, I'm not looking for a job per se, but it's part of my brand. Like if Alex wanted to create a job called a skill called the landing expert, he could do that. Kind of a cool thing to do. Now, this is what I alluded to before. Very few people, when they go to skills, know how they can move them around. So at the top of your skills, there's these 3 dots, and it says reorder. And what that will allow you to do is on the next screen, drag skills up and down. So if I select this reorder here, this 3 dots, then on the next slide here, I can drag up and down any skills I want to. And we can actually do this in real time later on. So again, you can do it up and down as many times as you want to. And it's a good exercise to think about it because yes, the skills are searchable, but if you don't get their attention right off the bat, they may not even think twice. And if you look over here, I have a skill, again, introvert no more. I think it's cool. Again, I'm not really, for me, it's a branding thing as much as anything else. A lot of the stuff that's here is not as relevant to me as in other cases. But again, it's just, if nothing else, it's good practice. Go through your skills and see which ones make sense. Because again, if you don't put the best ones up there, and Frank made a good point, they may be outdated. Just because you did something a while ago, if you're going to do something in job search, it's really about what are my skills, what is my background how is it going to lend itself to the next company that hires me. So
excuse me,
now,
Ken.
Yes.
So there are a couple of questions.
Sure.
From Valerie. What
Okay.
does the take skill quiz include, or what type of skills are you being tested on?
There are dozens or hundreds or thousands of skills. You can take it on a Microsoft thing. You can take it on interviewing. There's all sorts of skills tests. Depends what you want to do. So it can be a technical, it can be soft skills. And different types of tests, some of the technical ones they're going to ask you if how you handle certain things like in Excel, how you might create a formula for you to do something like that. Certainly not a bad idea to try it. Again, it doesn't hurt. None of this hurts.
And then as a follow-up, if you don't do well, can anyone tell if you took the skills test?
No. And you can take the skill test again, because I've flunked skills tests. And I'll take them again. No one's notified. I mean, you're notified, obviously. But no, and a lot of the stuff here, I mean, sometimes they ask very, very, very weird and very unbelievably ridiculous questions, which is the other reason why you have to think about it. Now, someone asked, I think, where to find the skills. What I will share with you is if you do a
the question is, where do you find the skills test?
Well, the skills test goes under each skill. So, I mean, if we go to LinkedIn later on, hopefully I have time to find it for you guys, because it's a lot harder for me to go through the steps without actually going there. But if I don't have the answer to David, I'll let the group know.
Okay. And also, there's a question from Alex.
Yes.
So he writes, Ken, to me, being on LinkedIn is about getting found. It is not about telling the world how great that you think you are. So the question is, how can someone find the best keywords?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with telling the world how great you are, Alex. If no one does, who else is going to? I mean, there's this thing called humble bragging, which is kind of like, you know, promoting what you do, but you want to set yourself apart. So can you repeat the question again, David? What Alex?
Yeah. How can one find the best keywords? Can you explain?
Well, the best keywords are the best keywords for you. So if you're looking for a specific job and you go to a job description and you look at the keywords for that, that's what's important. Job specs are the best way to find it. Every job is different, but sometimes you can glean so much from what a job spec is, and different companies have different ideas about that. That's why the more skills you have, the better. And you also want to think about it from your perspective. So these are some of the things I've learned from LinkedIn. They have started removing fake and dormant profiles. So I've lost a lot of connections or followers. Alex, you probably did too. That's a good thing. The focus is going to be continued on AI. Frank had alluded to ChatGPT, and AI is a part of that. We complain too many releases, not enough time to test. We're all guinea pigs on LinkedIn. We are all A/B testers. We test it out. Unfortunately, they, for whatever reason, don't really have a separate environment. Two-step verification is needed more than ever, and I'll show you guys how that is. And lots of people are joining LinkedIn jail. A lot of people in the last month or so have been put in LinkedIn jail for all sorts of reasons. And we've been taken in and out. And part of it is just because LinkedIn is clamping down. The jail nowadays is probably a couple of hours or so. A couple of the reasons people have had too many tabs open up. People have been good actors on there. Again, these are just kind of things to be aware of here. So the two-step verification, I could do a whole separate thing on settings for sure. But if you go to settings in your profile and sign in and security, there's a thing called two-step verification that's there. If you do nothing else, you make sure you do that from this call. And when you select two-step verification, you turn it on. Most important thing is that you need to have a mechanism, because I was almost hacked. I got the verification. Someone was trying to connect to my account. They sent me the IP, the address, and I was able to block it. And so that's a good thing to do. LinkedIn now is really clamping down a lot more. So I actually had a slide for any questions so far, because I wasn't sure what was going on. So any other questions in the meantime before I continue?
Well, there is one in chat.
Okay.
Jamie, I dragged to reorder my skills, but it doesn't save the new order. There is no save button. How do I
It saves them when you back out. LinkedIn is not intuitive that way. If you move around and X and back out, they should be saved.
Mine doesn't work that way. Or mine isn't working. I mean, I back out, but it doesn't save the new order.
So if you move one from, let's say, the 4th to the 1st, and then it's on the 1st shows on the top, right? And then when you go back to your profile, the order has not been reflected to change.
Oh, you know what? It just refreshed and it did.
Okay.
It did. Thank you.
Sure. No problem. It's great to be able to try that. You can try to do this in real time. It helps out a lot. So that, for sure. Okay. So onward. Now we talk about searches. If you type a keyword or keywords, and Alex alluded to this before, people do searches all the time. So if you again, when you type a word on the top of the search bar, you can do all different types of searches. You can search by posts, companies, people, groups, etc. So I just typed the word layoffs just as an example here, and I'll show you other ones. And I did a sort by posts. So anything that has layoff shows up, but there's too much information there. So on top of that, I want to do a sort of the posts within the past 24 hours. Think about this from a keyword standpoint for anything and everything. Job title, whatever it is. Post by the past 24 hours and you can get it better. Now, if you really want to go crazy with this, you can do a search by people's names. and then you'll find whoever wrote about this, that will show up. But I think the main takeaway is you have a keyword or keywords to search by, and you can search by any number of things. And I say this because if you're not sure what to post about, you're not sure what to write about, look what other people are doing. It changes on the fly. Very important to consider that, especially on the weekends, you have an opportunity to do some searching here. Another way to do this, search for the title, project manager. And you have people with the title, which makes sense, of course. You can do it for jobs to get ideas. What I also like to do is I like to do this from an event standpoint. I want to find out events that are going to be talking about the topic. So what I will do in a case like that is just go to events. And you can search it also. You can do a filter on here by people that post on it, all different things. So again, searching for events this way, anything that has project manager in the event will show up there. So maybe I want to attend an event. Maybe I want to attend an event on job search. It doesn't go any further than this. I wish it would, but it's a starting point. So again, these are different ways to search on LinkedIn. In addition to job search, you're searching for events, you're searching for job titles, all different things you can do. You can search for a company, of course. Within a company, you can search for employees. You can refine your searches by specific industry. And what I unfortunately have to do is I have to do a search within my connection requests and invites. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But here's an example. You can do a search for "we're hiring." You can think like a recruiter. And if you have "we're hiring," anyone who has "we're hiring" or "I'm hiring" in their title will show up. Well, I have 35,000 here. I want to kind of limit this down a little bit. So the way you would limit it down is you would break it down maybe by location. So maybe I just want to do a location in the New York City area. So under locations, I might make a change there. And I, under all filters, might want to set a specific industry. So here's a search for "we're hiring New York City metropolitan area in technology." So now I have 885 people that have "we're hiring." Now, does that mean that they're hiring specifically for me? I don't know. It's just and you can try all different things. It's just another way to search. Yes.
If I can ask a question about location, we're both blessed and a little bit at a disadvantage because we're so close to the New York market. I know they were supposed to put some additional filter capability in for New Jersey, because a lot of people that live in New Jersey would rather work in New Jersey, not have to commute to New York. Do you know how to more effectively tap into the filters around distinguishing New Jersey from the New York greater area?
Well, there is a New Jersey filter besides New York metropolitan area that you can filter by. And it will just show up with people in New Jersey. So even if you're in the New York City metropolitan area, if you select New Jersey, it will only show up with New Jersey people.
Okay, how about around the opportunities?
It's
so
the same
if
thing.
there's a company headquartered in New York, but you're looking for their New Jersey-based opportunities.
It's the same thing with any searching. You can do any search by any location. So you can do New Jersey companies. You can do companies and do a search by New Jersey, and it will show up. I just do New York City metropolitan area out of convenience. You can do a search for remote versus on-site. You can do a search for anything. You can spend hours just testing different searches out. The searching, there's all different levels of searching. When you put in a location, you put in your location and you put in, you can put more than one location behind the scenes. If you put New Jersey in, though, someone who's doing a search for New York City metropolitan area may not see you. So I would recommend searching by one thing like New Jersey, but having your profile open to other things besides just the state, if that helps. So I think it's important to understand that these are all possibilities and things you can do. So again, this was what I was alluding to before. I have 154 invitations going on right now, probably a lot more, and I want to break them down. So when you go to your page here, you will see all invitations. So you select that, you can select manage invitations. Now I can see I have 68 people, 41 newsletters, 39 pages. It's an easy thing for me to do. I get inundated, like a lot of people here, with all different types of things, and sometimes it's just easier for me to go through requests that way. A lot of us are very picky about who we connect with. I get a lot of connection requests from people that I have no interest in connecting with. Well, I don't know that I'll do an I don't know or not, but I think it's important to be very strategic in what you do. A lot of people who follow me automatically want to connect. Not something that I recommend. I will follow people maybe for a little while and then ask to connect with them later, just as a best practice. You have to understand that a lot of times LinkedIn makes these recommendations behind the scenes as to why someone should be followed based on that whole algorithm or multiple algorithms. So Frank had alluded to AI before. They have new skills pages that are being driven by AI. And this is one of the reasons why I was on LinkedIn earlier this year. We were invited to be shown how this actually works. There are LinkedIn skill pages. And I think what I find very helpful about the skill pages is not how good they are, but it's how bad they are, actually, which gives me the opportunity to really call some of the stuff out. It's the first step, and they're using it. So again, this is how it's set up here. All these different topics. There's a link that's in the slides, which you can view it from. So as an example here, this is what I would say. It would say, do you find it difficult to remain attentive and engaged while listening? And it's just a general thing about comments. It's generated by LinkedIn, ChatGPT, AI. There is no, it's just basically, from what we can gather, it's an opportunity for them to get more content, which is okay. I look at it as an opportunity to connect with other people that are on the same conversation. So again, example, how do you avoid distractions and stay focused when listening to a message, when listening to a complex message? So it'll start out with a prompt here. And you've all seen these prompts on ChatGPT, prompt. And then it says, then there's little subheadings underneath. So it'll ask a question, and then there's a thing here, it prompts you. In my experience, an example of, I agree. And you can start writing and adding to it. I do it probably once in a while. When we went to the collaborative event, we had some real questions about it. One question we had is, what's in it for us? Why should we do it? I mean, you're just taking our knowledge. So what they've started to do is they've given us these little badgy things on the top, which I guess is okay. It is marketing. The real question that a lot of us have is how do you guard against bad content, incorrect content that makes no sense. There's no mechanism here. There's only a mechanism to promote it and say great job. But again, when things are put together, you have to think about it, the opposite scenario, the opposite use case. And I know that they are thinking about it, but thinking about it is not the same as doing. You want to be able to look at the content, question the content, and not just add to it. That's what collaboration is. So whether it gets there or not, I'm not sure, but it's up to people like us to really let them know. Now, this is my advertisement. Don't be salesy when following up on an accepted connection request right away. And it's gotten to the point, and I've actually made this suggestion at different sessions. If someone accepts your connection request, don't thank them for connecting right away. Don't reach out to them right away. no matter what it is. Give it some time, because it's just so overwhelming to do that. So as an example, this is an example of what I got. Would be really great to connect with you. My agency does these wonderful things. Then another follow-up, is your business visible online now? And they sent another thing. Would I be right to assume you'd rather not connect right now? Yeah. But what I did in this case, which again, just so you notice, you've got a focused messaging and an other. So this is in the other. So what I did in a case like that was I actually blocked and reported. I moved them first to other, which is here, and there's a thing called report block. You should be reporting or blocking anyone like this, not because for you, but if a person gets, I believe, 5 blocks or 5 reports, then they're flagged. And it's, in some cases, I've gotten a connection request or a report or something, and a person's kind of blocked right away because that person's been flagged. So you block. I usually select either the spam or it's something else as the reason why you're reporting the conversation. The problem is, no matter how you select it, LinkedIn is not going. The only thing LinkedIn is going to do is they will remove the profile if they get enough complaints. What they consider spam, and this is the whole AI thing again, or scam. It's the way it's set up. There are no people really behind the scenes, and I think they have to do a little better job of that. So I'm going to go to some new changes, and I mean a new change that literally just rolled out this past week. There is now something called an actively hiring feature, which I'm very excited about. So when you select on the top here, the title, and this is only for premium, you will see a thing that says actively hiring. If you have premium, you will see actively hiring premium as a dot. And the people that, if you selected, the people that show up have got that I'm hiring frame, so that any of them are there. So if you select one of the profiles of the person that has that, then it goes right to the person's job that they're hiring for. And you can apply, and then from there you can select the job. I'm not sure how beneficial this is going to be long term, but if you need a reason to try premium for a month or so, this would be a reason why. So if you select the job, it goes right to the job. And it's information. And if you notice here, it says premium meet the hiring team. That's because it was all set up that way. I've tested it a few times. It's very interesting. It's something worth considering. You know, again, the basic versus premium. Since it's just rolled out, it might be worth trying. Doesn't hurt. But again, with whatever you do in job search, it's about how can you strategize and how does it make sense for you? I mean, you have to have your target companies. You have to know what you're looking to do. You can also schedule posts. I do this. I actually did this when I was on vacation. I schedule posts in advance. So there's a clock option that's over here. You select the clock option, and then you can pick when you want the post to run. This is an old slide, as you can tell. Now there's pros and cons. It's great for content you can schedule in advance. Ed Hahn, I know, does this from time to time. And if you're going to be away, you can have the content ready to go and you can schedule multiple posts. But there are some real downsides. You can't update a post content when you schedule it. You can change when you are going to post it, but you cannot change the text in the content. So I recommend, if you have a post that you want to schedule, have it written down first. Don't just put it on LinkedIn. We have found anecdotally engagement is lower than posts you do in real time. That's just our, as LinkedIn trainers, noticing that. And make sure you remember when you schedule them. I actually made this mistake and it turned into a post. I wrote a post, and then an hour later, one of my scheduled posts ran. And LinkedIn doesn't like that when you have 2 posts going too quickly together. So that became a post for me to write about what not to do. I would say when you write posts and posts that you actually do, it's about engaging. Don't ask us about the algorithm and how it works. None of us really know. Scheduling is available for anyone, not just premium. Premium is outside of the last thing I showed you there, which it'll say premium only if you do that, but it's available for anyone. Now, this is where AI is really getting a little bit weird for me. It will now recommend things for you to do on your profile. You may be getting this soon. It says enhance your profile. Now, this isn't beta now for premium, but it's going to be rolling out to everyone. So it will review your headline and about section for you. It'll say, well, we think this is what it would be better. So this is what AI asked me to do. They made this suggestion for my headline, which is ridiculous, but I could have saved it and I can edit it. Again, I was interested and it took this information from my profile. It took this information from what I had. It does not make any, and I don't care about option 1 and option 2. But again, it was interesting to see. And then it made these suggestions with my about section. Again, it took information from my descriptions in my about section and created it. Now, I did use some of it from a standpoint, but I would recommend, even if you're thinking about doing this, make sure you have your profile saved or have the content saved. I just find this all very interesting. I think a lot of people are really afraid of AI and they're really afraid of what the future holds. I'm not. I embrace it. I mean, I don't know if George is on the call or not, but the more you embrace it, the better. I mean, it's not going away. So I want to end this part of the presentation with, of course, pictures from my day in LinkedIn.
Wait,
Alex,
Ken, there are questions. So before you move on to your pictures,
okay.
This is from Valerie. Is the scheduling only available for premium as well?
No, I said it's available for everyone.
Okay, good. And oh no, that's from George. Never mind.
Okay.
And if I could ask a question, Ken?
Sure, absolutely.
As you know, the things that are going on in the marketplace, one of the biggest things is a lot of individuals are now exploring side hustles in addition to their primary employment. And what we're seeing is there's some other third parties like Experian out there that are now actually monitoring an individual if they're having multiple streams of income beyond their primary job. And different employers can actually have access to that information from Experian and other sources. So one of the things that I'm seeing is existing employers are looking at their current employees to see if they're doing side hustles. And then I'm also seeing that potential employers are comparing the LinkedIn profile to what's on the reports from Experian to see if, quote unquote, a candidate is transparent in what they're doing.
I see that a lot also.
Any ideas of how side hustles, if someone's participating in them, should either be included or not included in one's LinkedIn profile?
Well, what I would always recommend is call yourself a consultant, or maybe the job title, and maybe have a bullet pointed list of them. Because I know when I was in and out of transition, I would create contract positions. It's really scary in some ways how they do things. But as long as you're transparent, I mean, it's transparent not just on a LinkedIn profile, but on a resume. People have job gaps, people have side hustles. I think we just have to make sure that we put everything out there and it's in the same place everywhere as much as possible. I've seen LinkedIn profiles that don't come anything close to a resume because they're trying to, and that's a red flag.
Yeah. And this is a little bit different. The person has full-time employment, but because of things like inflation, the student loans having to be repaid again, they're going out and they're getting additional income opportunities in order to supplement their jobs.
But I would recommend then they create a company page and use that company page as the mechanism to market themselves too. A lot of people have side hustles, have company pages, and that can be shown on your profile. I mean, you can't have two profiles with your name, like your name, but you can have a company profile and you can have an individual profile, and you can merge the two together.
Well, employers who have employees in this situation are now examining the side hustles to make sure they're in no way a conflict of interest to the primary position. And then potential employers are looking at it to see if there's full disclosure on their potential candidate's LinkedIn profile. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I would ask that from Hunt and Isaacs, or from an attorney, a legal perspective, as to what they are and are not allowed to do. I mean, if you're working on a laptop from work, they can monitor every keystroke you're doing, and that can be, you know, and there's all different Big Brother type things out there. It's just something to be aware of. All right, Alex, this is for you, the elevator pitch. We took a picture in the elevator, a bunch of us, and Nancy's on the call. I'm sure she remembers that day. This was when I got to see Brenda Miller and Rachel Simon and all these wonderful people. Nothing better than meeting in person. Absolutely nothing better than meeting in person. We had a great time that day. This is the favorite picture that we all share. We were in front of the LinkedIn sign. Christine Dykman. I recommend what? Lynn Williams is there,
Lynn
right?
Williams, Christine, Nancy, Rachel.
There. Lisa Rangel's there.
Yep.
Brenda's there. Bryn Tillman's there.
Was that Ed
there.
Samuel?
That's Ed Samuel back there. Yep.
You're still the tallest guy in the room, Ken.
I've had an intro for Bobby Umar. Yeah, I mean, but when we got together, it was just a bunch of us chatting. And this is Janess here. I don't know if you know Janess. But it was just a cool day. So I'm going to end the presentation now.
There is a question in chat.
Okay, but I'm gonna just exit out of here, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen, and we can just chat from there. So what question was there?
So from Terrence, regarding the AI articles, if a LinkedIn user contributes content, does it show up the way a post shows up in your activity? Is it worth it for a user to spend time on this?
No one. Are you talking about the AI articles that are out there right now? Is that what he's alluding to, or is he talking about? Because there are ways that you can create AI content, LinkedIn AI content on ChatGPT and the like. If you're looking at the AI articles, it's certainly a good place to look at what's out there. But in terms of engagement, the only people that are really engaging, to be honest, are people like us that are working on it. From a job seeker perspective, I don't know that I would recommend it as much for now, because very few people are actually using it. Just like very few people are actually, out of the millions and millions on here, are actually using LinkedIn itself. You know, I think that's, if you have no other takeaway from today, do the searches and actually use LinkedIn the way it's meant to be, which is as an engagement tool, as an ability to build relationships. So what I'm going to do while you guys are chatting here is I'm just going to head out to LinkedIn itself and anticipate some possible questions, because I think that would be helpful a lot. So I'm on LinkedIn right now. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer some questions that way, because I wanted to make this somewhat interactive. Like, this is my profile here. This is the section. So does anyone have any specific questions they want me to answer or do or show? Make this little show and tell here.
And folks, you might as well at this point, if you have a question for Ken, you can unmute. Just make sure you don't speak over someone else's question, and Ken will address it accordingly.
Yeah, like I said, this is why. I mean, as an example, I'm going to look at Lisa's post here. This is a post. I measure my happiness now by how many days in the week I'm dancing. And you look at a post like this. This is Lisa Rangel. Has nothing to do typically with job search until maybe the end. So what are you doing to commit that's good for you? I mean, these are just things to think about from that perspective. Or Terry had a post here. Again, if you're not sure what to post, take a screenshot of today, mention that you attended the event. I love the jobs tab a lot. The jobs tab is really great. There's a little different things here. There's interview prep and all that stuff. But like I said, I want to make sure that I'm reaching some things that you have questions to. If not, I'm happy to stick around. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ken, the one, and I give this advice all the time, and I eat my own dog food on this.
Okay.
So when it comes to posting on LinkedIn, I look at this backward from the job interview process. So if you think about it, right, you can go into an interview and lie all day long, right? It's a question, you're getting an answer, and how do you quote unquote prove it, right? There's no real way to prove it, right? But for me, I use LinkedIn as my journal, my diary, hey, that was a great question. I already talked about that. I already did a video on that. I've done a blog on that. So to me, when you post on LinkedIn, it isn't so much just, and I think that's probably the biggest waste, is just taking an article and saying, hey, look at this. It's, hey, here's an article and here's what I learned from it. Here's how I would apply it. Here's what I would take away. Here's what the idea that it tickled in my head. So I would use LinkedIn as that differentiator that starts getting, again, it's just your journal. You can actually show the effort to getting this. You're just not a Johnny come lately. That's my view on posting.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, I did a post yesterday. Was Bryn got an award, and I took a LinkedIn, one of our LinkedIn pictures. I just put down here, again, just about what she did. And I have what's called the marketing blurb on the bottom here. This is just a little bit of my tag. What I'm going to look for now, if I can find it, I'm going to go back to the post. One of the posts that I really enjoyed a lot was the one from my Leac Harrison person. Just bear with me. I'm going to look for it now. Okay, so this is a person here. I'm actually working with, and they gave me permission to do this. So I said to him here, what does this have to do with anything? This picture in the background. I had no idea what it meant. So if I go to his post here, this is what he did a few days ago. He said here, I was encouraged a few weeks ago to add a banner image to my LinkedIn profile, so I added a picture. And then he explained what it was. It was about Hawaii and Maui. So we talked about it from there. And I just asked him that question, so it'd be the same thing. And he got a lot of engagement. And then over here, this is a more recent post of his. Being laid off is the best thing that happened. I mean, again, I'm just saying this as an example. He's on his own now. He's posting stuff, and he got a lot of engagement. So I think the main thing to think about is, like, if I do a search on Open to Work, I'm going to see all these different Open to Work posts, and there's no real benefit to them. But it's an idea. Like, again, if you look at some of these comments here, you might get an idea of something to write about.
Ken, could you go to my profile?
Of course. No, I won't go to it, George. I mean,
well, I got two things I can show that support what you're saying.
No, I'm George. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
And I'll share with you something. Again, I'm a full disclosure guy, so I'm going to share with you a mistake I didn't know about. So if you scroll down a little bit, Ken, just go down to featured. One of the things I didn't realize about featured, and again, it's because of social media. You can take a post, and if you thought it was one of your better posts, you can put it on your quote unquote featured. Well, what I didn't realize was that you could feature a lot of different posts. Yep. So I thought it took down, like I only thought it was one and only one featured post. You can have numerous featured posts. So I've actually cleaned mine up to be my top 3 right now, or top 4. So that's the most important content that I feel I've shared on LinkedIn. So that's number 1 on featured. If you go down just a little bit on my post activity, well, first of all, for those that haven't seen it, I did two things. There was the AI Insider Guide, and then there was the using AI in job search. So I actually learned how to use Canva to make the PDF. But look at the last one I just put. Nothing more than a carousel test. Just click on that one, Ken.
I am. Yep.
So if you look at this one has, I'm going to say it kind of tongue in cheek, there's no value to this. I actually just shared what I was doing. Something as simplistic as there's no pre-production LinkedIn environment for you to post to. So I said, look, I was using Canva. I realized Canva had some limitations. I actually moved it over to PowerPoint, and I did nothing but use that to say, as part of my learning experience, I now see what Canva did for me. Here's how I created a carousel, but it was too limited within Canva. I went back to PowerPoint to do it. And something as simplistic as this is conversational, shows that you've learned something. How did you apply it? And to me, this is the type of narrative. If you go down a little bit, Ken, if there's another post under this.
I would just say right off the bat, one of the things I might add in the future is some call to action, or ask people what do they think, like what do you think, or do you agree, or something within there, to get more engagement. Because again, that's great, but now I would always say, what does everyone think about that? Because then they even get more engagement.
Yep. So if you look at my post history, that becomes thematic to what you see. There's an article, there's insights, there's feedback. It's become a diary. And oh, by the way, I now have close to a year of just the AI GPT stuff on my post. If somebody wants to come up, there's no guesswork as to what I've been doing, and I'm sharing those insights.
One thing I would recommend, if you download all of your content, all your everything, you will see your posts there. But I always recommend people have a different place, whether it's a Google tab or a bookmark or something where you can save some of your posts in advance, because one of the things that we all do a lot of is we repurpose content. We're not that smart that we can write different content every day, and you have different people using the platform all the time. So maybe something I wrote 2 months ago is relevant now because different people are seeing it. But if I don't remember what I did 2 months ago, I'm going to be, frustrated. So keep track of what you have, what you wrote about. Engagement, again, don't reinvent the wheel. Something that was relevant 2 months ago is probably still relevant now. For sure.
Valerie, I see Valerie's question. Valerie, what you do is if you look on your post, I think it's in the upper right-hand corner where you get those three little dots.
Excuse me, George, let's read the question, which is, yeah, how do you create and or manage a feature?
All right, I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to go to over here, and I'm going to go to my activity. My activity is here. Here's my activity. I'm going to go to posts. So let's say I call up this post here. There's a thing over here that says feature on top of. You'll have 3 dots, and we'll say feature on top of profile for any of your posts. And you can select as many or as few as you want. You have that, like I can do it for mine, I can't do it for someone else's. So it's a good thing to think about. So if I were to put that there, it would show up there.
Yeah, Valerie, that's, sorry, Ken.
No, guys, you can take things down. You can disfeature, or you can take things off there and move things around. But that's how you do it.
Yeah, I'm using that. Once I saw that you could have, and I don't know what the upper limit is on that, Valerie, but once I saw that, I just winnowed it down now to my, it'll be my top N things, my top 5 things, my top 6 things, whatever it is. Now, I've already created 2 of those carousels. I'm working on 2 more. So I might just use that for carousels and presentations so that you don't have to search through my LinkedIn, post history to find them.
The other thing you should do is the default is most relevant. If you switch it to most recent, then you're going to find the most recent comments on the top. Which again, when I engage with people, I want to engage with them with the most recent posts, the most recent comments. And maybe I engaged 2 or 3 hours ago, and there's been other things there. I'll do a research to most recent. And again, that's a good thing to think about, because how LinkedIn defines relevant, I'm not sure. None of us really know, but that's the big thing here. We don't know. So another thing to think about from a post standpoint.
And it's Joey. I want to make a comment or two, if I may.
Sure.
And this is just to build upon what Alex had brought up earlier and what George is talking about now, is that as much as you want to talk about yourself, and that's all good, fine and good, you got to pretend or assume that there are people on LinkedIn who are looking for people that they can hire. And so as much as you want to tout what you're good at, you really want to demonstrate what you've done in a sense that you could help somebody else. So that somebody's looking for somebody who could help them. They're looking for things that you've done and accomplished that make sense in their world. And so they're lurking, if you will, or they're checking everybody out. If all you're talking about is yourself, that's okay. But unless you can demonstrate or extrapolate what you've done and how it'll work for somebody else, if you can do that, now you've raised your capital. Now you've raised your visibility in the sense that somebody will now drill down deeper. It's just like if you're in an interview, when you're talking to somebody, you could tell them how great you are, but it doesn't help them. It's like, what's in it for them? You've mentioned it too, Ken. What's in it for them?
Right.
Right? If you're selling pens and they need paper, neither the twain shall meet, right? So you've got to figure out what is it that you bring to the world, right? And hope that somebody out there who's looking will latch onto that. To Alex's point, you want to be found, right? If you're like everybody else who says, look what I've done, but don't say how I can help you, you're like everybody else. And you don't stand out. You want to stand out.
But the other thing, just as a reminder, a lot of us on this, we do something called we train the feed, which is a way of saying to LinkedIn, we don't want to see certain things. So you have the ability with 3 dots to hide something or report an ad. And then, for example, I'm going to hide this ad here. It's annoying. I'm going to submit it. And just like that, it's gone. And the more times you do things like that, the more times you let LinkedIn know you're still going to see ads, but you're not going to maybe see the same types of ads. Another thing to do. So I think there might have been a couple of other questions. I don't know.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions in chat.
Yep.
Let me just get back to that. This is from Andy. How can I expand my LinkedIn feed? I mostly only see posts from coaches, not from my peers.
Well, the best way you can expand the feed is to have a profile, so again, LinkedIn is getting the feed based on what it thinks it wants to see based on your profile. And the more connections you have and the more followers you have, the better. So you have to, if your profile reflects that you are connecting with coaches and you're just in job search and you're not following other people, LinkedIn doesn't know better. It's making an assumption. And the easiest thing to do is to find, just again, if you did searching, if you search for content of interest, find the people that are posting the content and follow them. That's where the searching comes in. If there's articles of interest, LinkedIn will only know what you tell it. I mean, it's a machine. It's basically LinkedIn is a machine. It's a machine based on content that we all provided.
Thanks, Ken. But I have over 1,000 connections, and I'm following a lot of people, but I just don't really see that much content. It's just all the coaches who are posting.
But then, are you hiding content? Are you commenting on other people's content?
Yeah.
Okay. So the best way to start is to start by hiding content. We can have a conversation afterwards, and we can kind of talk maybe in a little more detail. That might almost be better.
Okay.
I don't want to monopolize. If other people have questions, and I want to make sure that we get as much as we can.
And the other thing, Ken, because we've heard this historically over time, with people that haven't been, I guess we'll call it comfortable in posting, and they're afraid of saying something wrong. Remember, if all you're doing is focused on your career, your skills, personally, I think for everybody that's on this meeting today, if there's one thing I would tell you to focus on, that there's this specter of AI that's going to have some impact on whatever it is that you do. Everybody here is going to be touched in some way, shape, or form. What I would tell you to do is start a narrative. Say, I just learned about this piece of AI. Here's how I think it might impact me. Here's what I learned to help my next job or to help my current employer navigate that challenge. Because remember, all of these companies are seeing this, shiny metal object called GPT out there in AI, but don't assume they know what to do with it. They don't. Now the question becomes, are you going to be a follower, or are you going to start taking content that says, boy, I just had an idea as how this might impact what I do. Here's what I'm starting to do to get around it. Now when you go on the interview, you're no longer just answering a question. What you're doing is saying, you want to know something? I see the same problem that you do. And here's what I've been doing to help people get past that. That is a radically different way of how to think about posting. Because again, you're thinking about the interview. What's the interview about? Yeah, it's about fitting all those other pieces, but they have a problem that they're trying to solve. And that problem is, what the hell do we do with GPT? So the more you can begin crafting a storyline that says, boy, I've seen this, hey, this sucks, it may impact me, or whatever it is, that becomes your narrative. And there's nothing wrong with that narrative because you're talking about a job impact. So get into this mindset of telling a story. The story is, we see this thing is coming. How do we best prepare for it? Or how am I best preparing for it? And how can I help a company, navigate those waters?
Yeah, I just called this up here because this is very, very interesting. Again, just an art, just a thing about color psychology and elevating your resume game. I mean, these are things that show up on my feed. They may or may not show up on yours. But this gives me an idea now for an article, something I might write about. I'm not going to plagiarize it, but a lot of times we get ideas from each other. We all kind of share and support each other. So, any other questions?
And Ken, do the shameless plug on your LinkedIn sessions, because your LinkedIn live sessions, because they're good.
Well, I mean, this week, Tuesday, Kevin Turner, who knows more about LinkedIn than any of us do about how LinkedIn works, I always recommend people come. It's 1 o'clock. What I do every Sunday or Monday, and this is part of the brand, one of my posts every week is the schedule of events coming up. People know to look for it. So important, like I will do certain posts on certain days, and that's part of people. Again, it's if you're going to post, start posting a couple times a week, start engaging. If you're not sure where to start, search for what we're writing about. We all do different types of posting. If you take a screenshot today, or Alex, I'm sure, is going to post tomorrow about Adrian's events and things, that's a post there. You can join that post because it's about engagement. So are there any other questions, David?
Let's see. Nothing in chat. I think Valerie has a question, though.
Okay, like I said, I'm willing to stay on as long as you guys will have me. So I don't know if there's a time.
And remember, folks, as we have a couple of questions more to this topic. That's fine. As we wrap this up, we'll hang around a little bit longer. Afterwards, we'll turn the recording off. But I think Valerie still has a question on LinkedIn.
Sure.
So George said that he could create multiple carousels. So I was just wondering, are the carousels only for posts, or can they be for different things?
Well, you can create multiple. I mean, you can only post one at a time, but you can create multiple. Like if I'm doing a post, you can have multiple you can do a PowerPoint with multiple slides on it or something, however you want to define it, and that's like consider one carousel. And you can do another one after that, another one after that, and you can have a bunch of those carousels featured within your featured section.
Ken, could you go to your profile for a second?
You want me to go to my profile? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, here I am.
So create a post.
Then I would have to do it from here. Okay, so I'm going to go to home, and I'm going to create a post. Create a post.
Right. Yeah, so go on so Valerie, what you do is you create a post, click on the ellipse.
Well, I was actually going to,
And then which one is which one is the file one? Add a document. That's that add a document. So basically what you'll do, Valerie, is all the carousel is a PDF that's in a specific format. It's 1200 by 1200 pixels on Canva. As I'm learning in PowerPoint, it's 8 inches by 8 inches. So you basically suck that PDF in, it linkdizes it, whatever the hell, they call it a carousel or whatever the hell it is. and then that becomes your post. So all you're really doing is attaching a PDF to a post. So that's why you can have an infinite number. It's just it's specific to that post.
So I'm calling this up here, and I'm going to say step because I know what this is. Okay, and that's been attached. And then I can go to done, and then I can add content here, and then I can post it.
I'm sorry, I was thinking your carousel was where you had your top 5 features or something that you were talking about.
Well,
okay,
so this is step 1.
That's over here. So that's,
okay.
If I go over here, I've got multiple ones here. Like this is my featured here. And I can have multiple ones.
Okay. You just click on edit for that, Ken, on the pencil, I think.
Yep.
So these are all, this is going to give you that list of featured, Valerie. And then you see underneath that first one where it says remove from featured.
Right.
So if Ken were to scroll down this, you would see all of those things that have been marked as featured.
Right.
On his profile.
So how would you create a second carousel? Is that where you click on the plus symbol? Or?
No. First, you have to create the post first.
First, you have to create the post.
Okay.
And then when the post is created, then you make it part of the featured section. So let's say
on carousel.
Yeah. So let me. So again, what I would do is this: if I go over here to my posts, let's say that I created this post already. Now I want to add it to the featured. Okay. Then I can say featured. Then I select what?
Ken, 1 second. So Valerie, let's just pretend for a second that the post that Ken's talking about has a carousel that we uploaded already. So this is a post on his LinkedIn feed. He uploaded that file, which is right here. Right now, once it's on his feed, now he's going to take a second step and tag it as a featured post. So it's a 2-step tango.
Okay.
And if I select feature on top of the profile, it'll show there. Now, what you can do in the featured section is you can move the order around, because if you notice on the featured section, if I have the 3rd or 4th one on there is not, maybe I want this one over here to go top, so I can move things around. I want something, because you're only going to see the first 3, maybe the 4th, but you could have as many or as few as you want, but you can move the order of those around, much like I showed you with the skills before.
Okay, can I ask this question before you move on? Are you considering featured a carousel, one carousel? Or is it the post that you're considering a carousel?
Yes.
I'm considering yes.
That's a 2-point. That's a 2-part question. So which part is yes?
the post is the post is where you attach the carousel.
There's 2 different types of definitions of carousel. There's a carousel. There's a carousel which might attach to a post, which might have multiple tiles. That's one carousel. Then you've got a carousel of featured content, which will have posts in it, which might have carousels in it. Does that make sense?
So everything will be underneath featured, though. You won't have another, let's say, carousel below. Let's call it highlights.
No, you would have
one. No. Okay, that's what I was getting at. Okay.
Okay. Like when you go to your activity, you can see all your posts here, and you can see everything here. But not every post is going to have a carousel associated with it. It could just be a text post.
Okay.
But you can put a text post as part of one of the carousels.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
And as an advanced topic, because I saw one yesterday that the other day that almost blew my mind. Carousels, when you do them, are meant to have a lot of what we'll call white space in them. They're not meant to be, you don't take pages of War and Peace and put them in a carousel, because when you're on the post and you're going through it, it should be at least readable, shall we say. It's not meant to be this packed, dense thing. So they're more of a marketing ploy in a sense. You know, they're kind of informative, but there's this informative / marketing aspect to them. So don't feel you have to pack everything in. It's about white space.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, Ken, thanks very much. There are no other questions in chat. So in a moment, I will end the recording, but we're all welcome to hang around a little bit. And just before we officially wrap up, want to let folks know next month we will be right back here. The Breakfast Club of New Jersey always meets on the second Saturday of each month, second Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. And our very own Frank Kovacs is one of the co-presenters, along with his co-author Mark Beal, marketing magician Mark Beal, analysis, observations, and best practices from 4 generations of job seekers. And don't know how we get 4 generations of job seekers when there's 2 presenters. I guess they'll do each. And that's really from baby boomers to Gen Z are the 4 generations. And you can Google those for the exact dates. And so that's will be next month. And so hope we can see you there. And thanks again, as always, to Ken Lang. Always wonderful to hear such great insights and in a outwardly format from a introvert. So terrific program as always. Thank you. And just before we officially wrap up, Frank, any parting comment that you may have?
Yeah, just a clarification. So Mark and I are in the process of finishing up our second book. And what it is, it's how to land the job and thrive in a multi-generational workplace. So the analysis and the research that we've done has spanned those 4 generations, looking at different ways they target companies, prepare for job search, interact during it. So what we're trying to do is really highlight the best practices that come from the 4 different generations, and then just share them with the group, and everybody can then look at them and determine what is the right mix of them for their own personal circumstance. So not in any way saying one's right or one's wrong or one's better than the other, but just what we've seen as the differences and highlight them, and then the audience can make their decision. Also in there, we've tackled things like reskilling, upskilling, and also what we call de-skilling. There's ways that things used to be done that unfortunately aren't, the best ways anymore. And for some of those that have been in the job market for a longer period of time, there's actually some changes or unlearning that has to occur to become more effective and efficient as there's new approaches to things. So we've tried to take it, all the way from the digital native, all the way up to those that have had experienced the changes due to digital transformation.
And so, Frank, I would imagine those 4 generations are the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. The newest generation is called Generation Alpha. They're not working yet, and the older generations probably are mostly retired at this point. So, and if you want more information about what those generations are, you can just Google that as well. But it's going to be a wonderfully well-packed program. Looking forward to that as well. So once again, thanks to Ken Lang. Thanks for everyone who was able to join us today and participate. And so we do hope you're available next month to participate in that program. And until then, we'll simply say goodbye and have a good weekend.